The New York Rangers have gotten off to a phenomenal start, looking like one of the best teams, if not honestly the best team, to begin this season so far with the goaltender in net there. And Igor, the overall offense that this team has produced has just been phenomenal. I mean, they've been scoring goals like crazy, especially at 5-on-5, which is exactly what you want to see, as well as the defense core looking very solid as well, even while missing, for a long while, obviously, for the last few years. One of the top pairing defensemen in Ryan Lindgren. This D-cores look great. They've been great moving the puck around, great offensively, great defensively. This team has just looked like a complete team that has a lot of depth and a lot of talent, and they've done a great job so far this season. And a big reason for the success that this team has had is the line made up of Will Cuylle, Filip Chytil, and Kaapo Kakko. This line has been phenomenal. They've been good offensively, good defensively. They have a bit of physicality in there. They've got some size, some speed, some offensive talent, defensive talent. I mean, this line is really, really good. And I think that having, three really great lines that can score and also be, solid defensively. Obviously, the Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere line at moments, they can have their issues defensively like any line. But for the most part here, we have three really, really great lines and a fourth line, which I think is pretty good as well. And we've definitely seen the talent that this fourth line has as well. I mean, we saw a couple goals there, a couple goal contributions in the last game as well with that fourth line. So I think the depth has been phenomenal there, but the overall talent on this third line is really great for this team, and the overall youth as well. These are three very young players still. These are guys who are nowhere near finished products at this point. I mean, maybe obviously Chytil's not going to, jump up like 50 points, for example, or something crazy, but this is a line that is still developing and still getting better, and they're still quite young. I mean, you have a guy like Will Cuylle, doesn't turn 23 until February. You have Filip Chytil, who is still only 25 years old. He just turned 25 in September, so it's not like he's too old yet. He's still in his mid-20s, still has some room to grow and possibly get better, as well as a guy like Kaapo Kakko, who doesn't even turn 24 until mid-February. So this is obviously a line here that is still very young, still getting better, and still getting chemistry as well. Obviously, Kakko and Chytil have had a decent amount of time in the past together, but adding in Cuylle to the mix there, I think, is a really kind of nice combination there, because we all know Chytil obviously isn't the most physical guy out there on the ice, so having a guy like Will Cuylle, as well as another big body over there in Kakko, and Chytil is still, a fair size as well, but obviously Chytil's not the toughest player in the world, so adding in a bit of grit on that line as well in Will Cuylle, who did see a decent amount of time last year on the fourth line, moving up to the third line there, and we finally seen that kind of offense really kind of take a step forward. I think this line is really going to be truly phenomenal. So let's take a look here at kind of what each of these players bring, and then we're going to kind of take a look at these stats here, advanced stats, and I'll kind of give you all my opinion kind of more in depth on this line as well. So starting off here with Will Cuylle and kind of what he brings to this line, I think the main part of his game for sure, and there are obviously other areas that are good as well, but the main part is that physicality. This is a player who is looking to hit anything and everything that is out there on the ice, that is not wearing the same jersey as him. He's looking to hit everything up there, and I love to see that. You want to have these kind of players who just will hit everything that is moving out there on the ice with the puck, and that is exactly what he brings. He brings that toughness, that grit that this team needs more of, and we obviously saw that come into effect last year when he ended up finishing 7th in the entire NHL in hits, which for a rookie is pretty phenomenal to see. And this season already, he is already tied for 4th in the entire NHL in hits with only 6 games played, 29 hits, and the guy he is tied with has 7 games played as well. So he's got one more game played than Will Cuylle as well. So really, he's kind of more in like 4th place, you could say. Will Culle's also a +9. I mean, this guy is just off to a phenomenal start, and that physicality is something that this team needed, and he definitely brings that to this line. He's also, I would say, a pretty responsible and decent defensive winger as well. He's not some Selke guy, obviously, but he is a solid defensive winger, which is quite nice. Definitely not a liability by any means, and the offense has really kind of come around. I've been talking about it in the past that, I watched Will Cuylle a lot in juniors there in the OHL when he was playing with the Windsor Spitfire. So, obviously, watching Will Cuylle there, he definitely showed a lot more offensive talent than what we've seen, last season, for example. At the NHL level, we saw him, do a decent bit there in the AHL as well. But I think this is obviously a guy who really took a big step forward to begin this season offensively. We've seen him put up some really great point totals. We'll take a look at those numbers in a bit, but I think we've finally seen him take a step up offensively. And that's exactly what you want to see out of a guy who is a responsible, good defensive winger, brings that physicality, has that size and toughness, but now is really kind of coming around with the offensive game as well. As, last year had a really disappointing playoffs offensively. Last season offensively as well just wasn't the best, but obviously this season so far, in that third line role alongside Chytil and Kakko, he has looked absolutely phenomenal. And next up, we've got Filip Chytil now, and this is a guy who has that speed, has some size there, although he's not going to be, a crazy physical player. Solid defensively, not great in the faceoffs, which is kind of the one kind of main area that is just kind of not great about Chytil's game. But other than that, his all-around game is pretty solid, and the offensive skill that he has is really kind of what can help drive this line offensively. He can be that kind of main focal point offensively for this third line, I think. He's got a lot of great, obviously a lot of great talent offensively. The hands are great. He got good passing, vision, shots, not bad at all either. I think this is a guy who, can be that focal point for this third line offensively to really can help drive the offense out of this line, because if you can have three lines rolling offensively while having a fourth line that can contribute here and there as well, that can be great for your team, especially on playoff times. Hopefully that can continue throughout the rest of this season into the playoffs as well, and Chytil should be a big part of this third line. Then we have Kaapo Kakko here, who brings that size, has that solid defensive play, and so far this season we've kind of seen that offense come back around a bit. Obviously the goal against Caden Primo against the Habs the other night there wasn't necessarily the best goal in the world. I mean, Caden Primo definitely should have stopped that, but still, Kakko has produced some solid points so far this season. He's getting on the board, and that's exactly what you want to see. Get that confidence back up there, because obviously had a disappointing season last year. Hopefully can kind of get back towards that season that he had a couple seasons ago now, when he was alongside, Chytil and Lafreniere, when that kid line was going there and they were looking phenomenal in that playoff run. Hopefully we can kind of get back towards that with Kakko and Chytil there, and obviously just kind of swapping out Lafreniere for Cuylle, obviously, as Lafreniere has made his way up into the top six. But this third line should be great, and Kakko, Chytil, and Cuylle are going to be a massive part of this team going forward. And we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens. If injuries happen, do we see a guy like Cuylle or Kakko get the push up, possibly up towards that top six? Or do we just see a kind of a guy like a Berard or Othman kind of get up in the top six to keep these three together? That'll be a big question mark if injuries do happen in the top six there. Kind of what happens and whether or not they want to keep this line exactly together, because so far I would say they've definitely had some pretty good chemistry together, which is quite nice to see. So now let's dive into some stats here and kind of take a look at right now the advanced stats for this third line. When Cuylle, Chytil, and Kakko have been together, these are the expected numbers. Obviously, the minutes, you have 60.9 total together, but just over a game of ice time, total play together all across these 6 games. You have expected goals percentage, 71.6, very good. You have expected goals for, you have 5.8, expected goals against 2.3, which is phenomenal. You got expected goals for per 60 minutes, though, at a 5.71. That is really, really great. That is the best among the entire Rangers line so far, obviously even better than the line of like Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin. So that's saying quite a lot there. And then you have for the expected goals against per 60 minutes, 2.26, which is not bad at all either. So this third line has been great offensively and defensively, and the advanced stats clearly say that as well. And now let's take a look here at the individual player stats. To begin this season, Will Cuylle has 6 games played, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. Big improvement on last season, where he only had a total of 21 points in 81 games played. He's at a point per game pace right now. Probably not going to keep that up, obviously, but still should be able to finish hopefully around that 40, maybe 50 point mark if he could have an absolutely insane season on that third line. And obviously playing alongside guys like Chytil and Kakko, they definitely all could be around that 40, 50 point mark. It would not surprise me in the slightest. Then for Filip Chytil here, we have him already off to a phenomenal start as well. He's got 6 games played, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Really nice to see him off to a great start, as last season obviously missed a ton of time due to the concussion issues there. Only played 10 games, had 6 assists there, but to begin this season, almost at a point per game pace is very good to see. And also only has 1 power play point as well. Will Cuylle has none. So far, this line has done a lot at 5-on-5. And then for Kaapo Kakko, he has 6 games played, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. So far, these lines have been quite phenomenal. Combined, when you add up all of these players' stats together, you have 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 total points out of the Rangers' third line. But also, only 1 of those goals and 1 of those assists are actually on the power play. All the other ones are at even strength there, which is saying a lot. So 14 points out of this line at even strength is quite phenomenal. That is exactly what you want to see. That's going to pretty much do it for this video, though. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for a ton more New York Rangers content. If you are a Rangers fan, hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel a ton. I would really appreciate it, as well as comment down below your thoughts on Chytil, Kakko, Cuylle, how you think that line has played so far. How do you think those three players have played so far? Because I think they are a big part of this team going forward and should be a massive part of this team this season as well. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.